Hey everybody, it's Cinnamon Cooney, your Art Sherpa, and today we're going to be painting this adorable little sheep that's up here, sticking out its little tongue at us. We're going to kind of do it in a contemporary style, which I'm very excited about, and we're going to be changing up the background a little bit. So this is our reference, and I'm going to be breaking down everything we do to create this painting step by step, tool by tool, so that you can follow along at home. On the mic is my husband, John.
Hello.
He helps with this whole show by making sure the cameras are pointing at what I'm actually doing and they're zoomed in when they need to be zoomed in so you can really see the action in the brush. Also, if you're here for the live chat, you'll notice a group of people with little wrenches by their names. Those are kind of our art ambassadors. If you have a question, put your question all in caps. Nobody will think you're yelling. Check the description down below. There's a list of materials. I am going to take Dioxazine Purple off of that list because I just didn't see a reason for it today. But the colors are listed down there. Size of the canvas, links to the website. Traceable is on the website. If you're not wanting to freehand draw this, you're going to have the traceable. I'll demo how you can do that today. I'm excited about today's class. This is a really cute little character. I do a lot of barnyard animals, so I think he will fit right in with the rest of the barnyard, and I'm kind of ready to jump on in and start painting this cutie patootie. I hope you guys are ready to jump on in and paint this cutie patootie. We're going to have just a fun art day today. We're not going to take ourselves too seriously, and we're just going to be lighthearted about it and have a fun day today.
Yeah, so beginners should not at all be sheepish about trying this one.
I love your dad jokes. They are my favorite.
They are something.
They're my very favorite. All right. While he's being funny, I'm going to be the straight man here and go over the materials. This is an 8x8 surface. I choose squares and have for years because it allows you to size up and size down your canvases very easily. On my palette, I have Mars Black, Burnt Sienna, Phthalo Green, Phthalo Blue, Ultramarine Blue, Quinacridone Magenta, Cad Red Medium, Cad Yellow Medium, Yellow Ochre. I have Titanium White, and right here is not white paint but satin glazing liquid by Golden Artist Colors. Oh my goodness, Kim, here's to sticking your tongue out. Oh, thank you for that. That is super nice. We have a bunch of people, if you're here on the replay, we have a bunch of people that come during lives. I highly recommend you come during a live, and so they comment and stuff. It's just fun. I love it. I really appreciate it. So this is the only product that I recommend, and what this does is it's a slow drying extender for acrylic colors. What does that mean? It means it slows down the drying time so you have longer to blend and allows you to glaze. The extend is the clue to that. So extend means you can make your paints go longer, and slowing down the drying time means it's going to be a better blender. Just clues if you're trying to find other products and you're wondering what those words mean in the art world. That's what they mean. And I think that's pretty fun. All right. Shall we get into step one?
Absolutely.
Step
we
one.
Back into step one.
It's going to be fun.
You know what else I have to, I realized? Is I got to get another microphone because my microphone's so messed up right now.
Is your microphone totally messed up?
Well, yeah, I'm using my good headphones, bro.
It's not like we're professional at this or anything. All right, so I'm going to squeeze out some brown paint. Now, I do it this way because, well, I'm silly. And I'm just wanting to paint a thin coat of brown on my canvas to start on my 8x8. So I'm just squeezing out. I kind of know by experience how much paint I'm going to need to do that. And so I'm going to squeeze that out. I'll put my little tube back here just in case I need any more. I'm going to mist with water. This water bottle is just water. I'm going to mist with water just so that when I go to blend it out, it's easier. I'm going to take a nice big oval mop. This is a 1-inch oval mop, and I'm just going to spread this paint out. It can be streaky. It doesn't have to be like a beautiful, perfect, brown, even cover. It can be. That's fine, but it also can be streaky because this is like the first layer. I was thinking, what background do I want to do? You know, on this particular painting, and I went through many different ideas, and then I decided I would use the current background to kind of inform a more abstracted, out of focus bokeh background that we're going to put the sheep in front of. Because we're artists and we can do that. We don't have to paint the out of focus, not as pretty barnyard behind. We get to make it awesome. I'm kind of going around the edges. I'm not really painting the whole edges, but I do go enough so that if I frame, none of the white of my canvas is really showing. I'm going to make sure I'm just totally smooth this out.
No rhyme or reason. They're just
smoothing it out, making sure that all of my canvas is covered. Then I'm going to rinse this brush out. I think I'm going to make my dark water the first thing today. So I have, just in case you're wondering, I get asked this a lot. This is a bucket that's divided into 3. And by going here and always rinsing my brush off in that first containment unit and then coming in the second, I can keep my water cleaner. And then I always have that last water for clean water. And that's just a little trick I use to keep my water cleaner. Now, anything I'm going to do next, this really needs to be dry to do it. So I'm going to take a hairdryer and I'm going to dry it, accelerate the drying time on that. I had a little extra water in it, so it might take a little longer to dry. But John will talk to you while I'm drying the canvas. You won't be left alone.
Nah, I'll stay here for a minute.
You'll hang
I have no place to go except to talk to you guys while we dry paint. Now, while she's doing this, I click the add insert button right when she starts to dry because it always throws one in and there at some point. And this way it only does it at, hopefully we'll do it on the drying breaks and not during the regular part, because if we don't push the button at some point, then it automatically inserts ads because it's YouTube and it does that. So anyway, apologies for that. Thoroughly dry your surface. You know, this is going to be a really fun painting. It's great for beginners, and I know you can do it, so just give it a try. It's not going to be hard. I promise. It's going to be fun, and we're going to be here to help. So, oh, by the way, if you guys need any help, chat. Ask in chat. You can go to our Facebook group. You can write support at theartsherpa.com. All these places. We will help you.
We will help you.
Ew. Like E-W.
E.
Ew. Like
okay.
Like a sheep. Ew. Ew.
Bahram you.
Yeah. Ew.
So movie references will happen. So Bree Snyder is saying that the bucket is the bomb, and Amy is saying that I look good today, which I really appreciate. Because I worked hard at it today. My makeup was some work today. Now I'm going to want to kind of make this look a little bit natural, but out of focus on here. So what I'm going to start with is my basic green, which is my Phthalo Green and my burnt sienna together. And they make a nice deep dark green. And I'm going to come here at the bottom and kind of like start this blending out. We'll be real dark here at the bottom. I don't have to worry about too much about what's going on here because I'm going to have a whole sheepy in front of it.
And this is just sort of a
background. This is going to be an out of focus kind of bokeh background.
Oh, it's very dark.
Yes. And then we're going to add a little light to it because we're just awesome like that. I'm moving fairly quickly so my paint stays wet. Now the brown underneath is like creating some depth that I wouldn't necessarily get from these two colors just on their own. So really, it almost looks black.
It's crazy.
I'm going to come in here and add a little bit of yellow to my color. My cad yellow into my mix from earlier, which is my phthalo green and my burnt sienna. And then I'm going to add some yellow in.
Yeah.
Here and there, some different places. Just blending that right in. It's sort of out of focus, right? These are just values of green that are not totally in our focus. And I'm putting them out very abstractly. And I'm using the brush to softly blend everything in. I haven't even got blending medium involved here. Now I'm going to get a lot more yellow on my brush. Make a much lighter color. And I'm going to put pops of yellow, just using the shape of the brush, creating almost like little out of focus points of light.
That's really neat.
Yeah.
You've had a few run-ins with your sheep.
How I had run-ins with my sheep?
Well, you know, when we were walking around Ireland.
Oh, yes. When I was in Ireland, I ran into some very aggressive sheep. They were les moutons agressifs.
They were aggressively friendly. And in France.
I don't know that was friendly. I felt like that was the beginning of like every horror movie I'd ever seen. I'm just putting these little dots out there, and you'll notice I soften them, kind of bring them out of focus. And this is sort of like, this will feel a little bit like light coming through.
Yeah.
We're just making this sort of the uneven little green background that it's going to be. Just blendy, blendy, blend. Now I've got a lot of sheep down here, so I don't have to worry about it too much.
This richer green will make that sheep pop.
We're going to make that sheep pop with this richer green. Now I am going to dry my surface a little bit.
Dry the surface.
A little bit.
That's a good thing to do.
A little bit. If I can get to my hairdryer, which is just out of my reach. Okay.
You'll be right back.
I'll be right back.
Okay. So, thank you guys for coming and joining us. Don't forget, if you need any help, check out our Facebook page. We have a website, theartsherpa.com. We have a store where you can buy stuff. It works too. Most everything we have on the show is on our store. We really appreciate you guys supporting us there. We're doing our best to grow that store, offer a lot of really great products at the best prices that we can. We do everything we can to try to keep those just as low as possible. It's really interesting how being on this side of that, what that means, and it's a learning world for us. So, but it's one of the things that we're doing, and it's kind of neat.
I'm going to bring a little more drama into this.
So much drama.
So in this step, I'm going to add a little more yellow into my green. I'm going to get
Step three?
in step 3, I'm going to get a very, very bright green. I might get some glazing medium involved. And I'm going to come in and add some more little spots of light. Kind of piece those in together. Just a little bit brighter.
I grew up with sheep all over the place.
Hmm? You grew up with sheep all over the place?
Yeah, well, Humboldt High School.
Oh, that's true. There are a lot of ranches out there.
Yeah, we even had one in the band.
Oh, like a 4-H sheep?
Mm-hmm. He played the tuba.
So married to you. So I'm just adding that extra little pop of light there, just to show some little light coming through. And another thing I may do is I may take a little bit of my Phthalo Blue and my Ultramarine Blue, and a little bit of my Titanium White. Get some glazing medium just to improve the flow. And I don't want it to be too streaky. And I'm going to just put out some little dots of blue too.
That's the sky peeking through.
Yeah, it could be like sky.
Or
it could be.
flowers.
Yeah, we don't know. It's out of focus.
It's something.
I'm just kind of piece a few of these in. And this sort of abstracted background lets us be a little more experimental with our sheeple. Put a little bit up there. Just a little bit of blue. Yellow and blue. I'm going to do the rinse out again, the 2-bucket rinse out, and dry my brush off with my towel here. And I'll go ahead and thoroughly dry all of this because the next step we're going to either sketch it in or use the traceable. I'm going to demo the traceable today.
Okay.
Okay.
That's a thoroughly dry. Have to. Now, if you guys, let's see here, pushing all my little buttons as they go. Now, we're going to thoroughly dry this, and if you need the traceable, it's available on our website. And it's a link in the description down below. You can find that. And a traceable is just a file that you can print out on your computer and then trace onto your canvas. And Cinema will show you a couple different ways that you can do that. So if you don't have like any kind of tracing transfer paper, like she might show, there's other methods that you can look up on our channel about how to do different transfer methods. Ones where you can just color like graphite on the back of it, or chalk, depending, like here you use chalk. You just put chalk on the back of it, then you can trace over it and the chalk would transfer. Or you can use transfer paper, which is I think what she's going to use here. And but yeah, that's what the traceable is, and you can find it. Oh, look, there it is. Moderator Rainbow just dropped the link to the traceable.
Thank you, Moderator Rainbow. And Darcy is saying in 9 days to be in Michigan. We're in Michigan. We're here on the hand. I finally learned where I am. Right here on the hand.
We're just outside of Detroit.
Now, to get the traceable, you go to the website, you print it out, and I'm using a product called Saral paper, S-A-R-A-L, and I tape it dusty side down, and then I put the traceable on top of it, so it's like double sets of tape, and then I'm going to fix this where I want it on the surface. Very carefully press all the tape down so that it won't move on me. What I don't want is the traceable moving on me. I want it to stay still. And when I draw over these lines, what will happen is that this image will transfer onto the canvas. Let me show you what the box looks like for the Saral paper, just in case you're a visual person. That's what it looks like. And it's really fantastic stuff. I keep it around and I reuse. This is maybe the 4th or 5th time I've used this particular sheet of Saral. So even though the product is a little pricey, maybe depending on your budget, what's nice about it is that it's usable in an extended way.
Yeah, one box will last like probably a year at least.
This time I'm going to use my Mikador EcoFlow pen because I want to see where my lines are. And I also want to press very, very hard.
Now, tracing is totally a technique in art that's used to produce an end to your artwork, right?
Yes. Tracing is not cheating.
Even the old dead mastery people agreed that this was...
No, well, because, canvas and stuff like that is more expensive than paper. So you can work out your sketches on paper, and then by creating this transfer method, you can use a design again and again and again.
So you're saying like these guys like Michelangelo didn't just lay down on their back and wing it on the wall and just like for the first time, like, oh man, I got his foot wrong. Now I got to repaint it.
They weren't really known as the winging it crew.
No?
They weren't really known for their winging it.
They traced, huh?
They trained like intensely. I think the winging it didn't really start until the 20th century when artists were like, I'm just going to go with my feelings on this one. So I'm just pressing hard enough so that the white powder will transfer onto the surface. This is a little bit of the neck showing that doesn't have the fur in it. And I'll come here and kind of come down these lines. I like to do little curly lines just to remind myself that I've got a little bit of curly hair. I'm going to paint it out a little differently than this. And again, you're going to notice that I'm using a reference, but I'm changing it up and, putting my own voice into it, my own style into it.
You're just getting some general sheep information.
Yeah, I just need the basic sheep. Yeah, well, I love the face. I love when there's almost a whimsical element to art. That's my personal favorite. It's the best. That's as good as I can do for a sheep joke.
It's all right.
You gonna forgive me?
I forgive you.
My bad sheep jokes. Just reminding myself that there's a cute pink inside of ear. Come here around the side. Making sure I got all my lines. And then I'm going to check that the transfer went well. Find a little spot I can peel up and check under. Yes, I have a good transfer.
Transfer complete.
Yeah. Now this paper comes in colors. So like if I had a light color background, right, and I wanted to do it on there, I might use the red or the blue. But in this particular case, I'm using the white because that's a good value for me coming in.
So
all right.
We've transferred that so we can move on to the next step.
Next step.
Step 5.
Step 5. Gonna keep it alive. And in this end, I'm going to come in and I think I'm going to do my eyes early on.
The eyes have it.
The eyes have it, and I'm going to paint them in early so that we have that to kind of keep us. I was asked this last class, do I sometimes do the eyes early on so that when the painting is going through its awkward stage, we have something we're real proud of? So we're compelled to come through? Yes. Yes, we do. We're going to do that. All right. I've got this here, and I've got my reference there, and I'm going to start in by grabbing a little bit of my burnt sienna, my yellow ochre, and my titanium white together. And I'm going to get the little eye alcove going first, and then I'll paint the eye inside. So I'm painting the area around the eye first. That way all the work I do inside is a little bit protected from everything that's going to go on the outside of the sheeple. And kind of come around with this little color a little bit extra. Now that's pretty nice. And the next thing we have to do is put in the kind of pupil that we're going to be working with here. So I'm going to get my black on my brush. This is a number 6 Raphael sepia round. I'm going to come from this outside edge. And then I'm going to bring in the little, it's like a square rectangle shape for the sheep eye. Now, even though my reference, this particular sheep eye is a little bit darker over here, I want the eyes to be really bright and focal. So I'm going to light both of them the same. And coming in underneath. Just very carefully with a fine line. That's not terrible. Now I'm going to take my cad yellow and my cad red together. And a little burnt sienna. I'm going to make sure there's not a drop of water hidden on my brush. Round brushes tend to hide a drop of water on them. Come underneath here. Kind of put in my bright color. Now, if the paint that you're painting with is very inexpensive, or even if it is expensive, yellows just tend to like have a harder time showing, so it may be a little harder for you to get that. I'm going to come up over the top with my brown. Wipe my brush off. Sometimes I'll come back and get my black again and just reset this little eye here. Okay. Now to do anything else, I'm going to want to dry this. That's the basis of my eye, but I'm going to want to dry it. Yeah, thoroughly.
Okay. So, I'm going to make sure that we're... Now, for those of you who don't know... you know, if you guys are, if you find it frustrating because you're not getting the exact results you want out of a painting, that can totally happen. And sometimes it's okay to just, let a painting, be, if it isn't exactly like what you originally intended, to just take on its own course in life. And that's okay too. It happens sometimes.
Also, sometimes you can sit there and stare it down and tell it what's done.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm with my paintings like, you know what you did. You know what you did, painting. I'm going to take, this is a detail brush, a #1 Raphael Precision. And I'm going to grab a lot more yellow over here and a little bit of red. So it's kind of very brightly orange. I'm going to roll the tip. I'm just going to bring this little light under here in the eye, kind of curving around. So the whole painting won't have this much detail, but this area will. I'll rinse my brush out and I wipe it off.
Yeah.
I'll wipe it off again because a hidden drop got on there. These little detail brushes do that to you like so much. Get a little bit of my brown and black together. Come into the corner a little bit. Rinse off or wipe off, and I'm going to grab a little bit more of my yellow and I'm going to make sure it just curves around here just a little bit more. Grab a little yellow, a little white. Touch it a little bit underneath there too. So just a little bit of light there in the eyes. All right. Now, until we come back, right, we can also kind of improve the black lining here now at this stage. We'll come in and we'll do our little lashes a bit later. Kind of line up the black there. There we go. Got a little bit of that going there. Okay, so we'll take a look at it overhead. We haven't put in our reflections yet, and we haven't put in our lashes yet, which is going to finish off those eyes, but now we have a really good start on them, and so that is wonderful.
Those are very nice eyes.
I like it. I like it a lot. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to paint in some of the more unusual colors that I have.
So we'll call this the next step?
We're going to call this the next step. I'm going to take a little bit of my Cad Red and my Quin Magenta together. And I'm going to get my little yellow ochre involved a little bit. And then I'm going to add white. So it's Quin Magenta, Cad Red, and white. And I'm going to come in and paint the tongue, a little, just the beginning of it. This is blocking in. I'm not going to worry about the details quite yet, but we're blocking in where, you know, perhaps the value in the colors are. And we're also taking care of what is very important to us in the painting, which is, you know, the eyes, the nose, and the tongue. Coming up over here over the top. Bring a little bit of pink up from the bottom. And then we just sort of capture our nostrils in. This is like a little downward triangle. So not too terrible, not too hard. And rinse this off. I'm going to go ahead and get a little of my black and brown together, mostly black. And I'm going to kind of paint up a little shading. And just make sure that this is nice and dark. Cavernous even. Just get a little glazing medium on here. Very carefully, I'll come down the nose, down the center. And I'll just bring that above this whole area, this little shadow. Little triangle from the side in, sort of a sliver in right there. Just slivering that in. So that just kind of lets us know where that is. And we'll rinse that off. And then while we're here in this color, I think I'll take, this is an Isabey Isacryl number 4. It's a filbert. In other words, so the brush is rounded. I'm going to get a little bit more of that ear color on here. I'm in the nose color, and I'm going to put some of this up into the ear. Early on. All right. I'm loving that. So we got a little pinking of the ears, a little pinking of the nose. We've got a little plan afoot, I feel. Okay, let's call that a step.
All right. A step it is.
Okay,
step in the right direction. In the right direction. Now I'm going to take my brown, and it might have a little bit of my black in it. And I'm going to come underneath here. That's quite thick.
Well, we're going to thin it out.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to come along this line. This is my darkest value. And I'm doing this so that when I add the highlights of the wool coming up, there's a deep shadow so we can make the wool feel deep. Even though we're going to be painting this in a very contemporary way. Which has got a little bit realism to it, but it's going to have a little bit of modern construct, be a little bit whimsical. Come along here. Sort of brush that out. And this dark color really comes down to a point down the neck. Then I'm going to go ahead and get a little of my yellow ochre in here. Very carefully kind of brush this out. So these dark colors are going to let us build our curls and our sheep wool. I'll paint this around the sides. There we go. And maybe a little bit on this outside here with the yellow, because we're going to be doing much brighter highlights out here. I'll brush in my yellow ochre, kind of blending it into the dark value. We're going to have a lot of layers over it, but there's no reason to not kind of shade that in well. Now I'm going to take a little bit of my brown and black up here to my yellow ochre. I'm going to get some white involved. Paint in the side of the face here. Kind of come up over the top a bit. Not in too much yet. I'm going to sort of brush this in, curve that over. Okay, so we're brushing it up there. And in the middle here, I'm going to add a little more white in. But it won't be pure white because I have to have room to shade, right? But this will be a lighter value. So blocking in is where we get kind of the underpainting and the undertones of something and start to put it in. And then when we start to layer up, it really helps us see it. As carefully as I can, I'll paint in here. Don't want to take any of the nice work around my nose out. If I can keep it. Get into slightly darker color down here where I had the yellow ochre and the burnt sienna. Maybe a little more color here, but with the white in it. I'm going to come back up to my lighter color up here. Add a little more yellow ochre in. Kind of paint this around, a little pinking of the ear. So blocking in or doing an underpainting like this also lets us paint over a dark background and be able to pull up the light and pull up the light and pull up the light. Same thing on this side. Okay, when all that's done, you're going to go ahead and actually I'm going to blend this a little bit because yeah, because it's like it is the short hair, but I just want it to
I see that.
blend in a little bit better. I don't know how important I'm going to make it. I may just take the like long hair from the neck out because I just think visually that may look better overall. So sometimes you'll make decisions in there when you're blocking in, you'll see issues and you're like, yeah, that's not really going to work. So you change things up to see if you can get it to be a little more natural looking.
Right.
Okay, I'm going to dry everything.
You're gonna dry. All right. So, as you dry, if you are just joining us, thank you. Don't forget to hit the like, comment, subscribe, and share button. Those share buttons are so helpful. They get the word out. The word on the street. Got to say the password, which is BARAMU, in case you didn't know. So, to your clan be true. BARAMU. Anyway. Little information break there.
Oh, well, have a good day, Marcy Clark. Marcy Clark is having to head out and do adulting.
See, that's a thing that
but
happens.
Come back later. Adulting is important stuff. What way would you hold the brush to create feathers? Well, there's a whole video on how to create feathers, and I highly recommend watching that because we actually cover how to hold a brush in that one about feathers. So if one of the mods could grab that how to paint feathers video and drop that in there for Lindsay, I'd appreciate that so much. All right, now we're going to start getting into this a little bit. We're going to be getting in it. So I'm going to start back again kind of in what I was like thinking my base like coat of fur, or not fur, wool is. And add a little more yellow ochre. So it's burnt sienna, Mars black, and a little bit of yellow ochre. And I'm going to get a little white involved. Just mix it in until I have a nice kind of fun little gray color. And I'm going to start to sort of piece in this little shape. I want the brown to show underneath though. Kind of bringing that down there so that we're taking the like little curls and we're painting them almost like scales. It's just the start where we start to like talk about the little shapes that we're seeing. Now I might turn my canvas just to make it easy on me. so I can have nice directionality coming out. I'm going to go ahead and add a little more white. I might hold my brush the other way just to have nice directionality, because I'm following the directionality of the hair. A little more. Just pulling it out there. So just kind of starting to talk about the clumps. The clumps. Yeah, sometimes you really got to be able to focus on the clumps. Go into my darker little kind of curl color. All right. Now I'm going to want to dry everything.
All right. Oops. So it's the drying time. And I accidentally closed a window that I didn't mean to close. So I was like, whoops, didn't mean to do that. And hopefully it'll come back here in a second. Anyway, if you ever do that in a live show, it's sometimes a little unnerving to push the wrong button. So thank you guys for hanging out, even when I push the wrong button, which you may or may not know about. So, look, we killed some time talking about pushing buttons. It's like watching paint dry.
It is. I'll straighten this up, sorry. Oh, got this. Separate up the little squares. This is how I stick my stuff down.
You get stuck.
Sticks down. So the reason I'm doing the neck first is the layering of the objects on here. So since the face is in front of it, I want to get all the fur kind of detailed in. And then, you know, for that reason, I've also got to do the outer fur, outer wool first. So I'm going to take a little bit, maybe just a little yellow ochre and white here. I'm going to come from this little outside edge. Get my glazy medium on there so it flows off my brush nicely. And make little wiggling outside little strokes. Because this outer side of the fur is wool. It's wool. Blah, blah, black sheep, have you any wool? I'm just making little kind of curly little lines here. Now, normally I would be doing my midtones and all of that, but again, it's the layering I want to be able to A little bit of layering there. So I'm going to turn this to the side. And I've got, well, let's see. There's some lightness through here and there's some lightness through here. I'm going to get just a little more yellow ochre here. And then a little bit more white over here. So I've got just a couple little values to play with. I'm going to roll my brush. Making little S curves up there off the little guy. Get a little more yellow ochre involved, but still pretty light. Little longer S curves. A little more yellow ochre in there. I do roll my brush. Rolling my brush allows me to like load more on the toe. This is a slightly darker value that I'm bringing in here and layering this over. Doing a lot of S curves. Little comma, comma, comma. Come a little sheep. Get a little more white into that. All right, now I will come here and kind of just enjoy layering this in. Coming right around the edges of my canvas. More yellow ochre. Because what sheep rarely are is white, white. Back into the light white. Layering that in. Let's take a look at how that's coming in.
It's beautiful.
Take a little more white into there. A little more yellow. And blend this now a little bit more. Back into my yellow. I'm going to kind of change the directionality as I come down the neck. So this is going out, but this is going to kind of come in. Just chunkity chunk. And get back into my darker color from underneath where my shadows are. Just add some little curls and lines. And get a little more brown in it when I come under the chin, so I can darken and lighten as I go. Maybe darkest right there. So I don't want to lose that darker value. So even my wool highlight is not bright. Turn my little thing to the side here because these kind of curl out. A little more white. And I'm just gonna, you know, highlight a little bit over here. Just a little bit of a beginning of like some wool. Okay, we're gonna dry everything.
Dry.
Dry.
That's part of what we do here.
Part of what we do.
Is we gotta dry the surface. So, if you guys at home, it's important to thoroughly dry between the layers. That way, when you put the next subsequent layer on there, they don't get muddy. And in acrylic, it's really kind of important to do that. So make sure you just spend time thoroughly dry. You can pause us and come back. It's no big deal.
Oh yeah.
And,
Feel free to pause us anytime. It's okay to pause us. Pause us.
Yeah.
Pause us.
The pauses. You ready for the next step then?
Yeah, I'm going to add a little more white into my off-white color over here. Roll my brush. I'll come over. Layer, you know, an exaggeration. Of that coming down there. Grab a little bit of yellow ochre. blend that all in. Taking a little bit more yellow ochre on my brush. Grab glazing medium if I need to improve flow. Just adding a little bit of layer. See, he just builds up.
Just layers and layers.
He's just, wool is thick, so the painting is thick. And grab a little bit of brown and burnt sienna again. A little bit of white into it. Might pull my glazing medium in there. And this time a lot more white, but you can see that it's a much now I'm going to play with some some little curl shapes through here with this highlights. So I'm just kind of creating these little curls in my brush stroke. So now I'm getting into like more curly, defined little brush hairs. I do like to turn my canvas so that I'm having an easy time with my brushstroke to my comfort. That's something to pay attention to. Right-handed, left-handed, any of that you have a brushstroke directionality where you're stronger, and getting familiar with that, and then moving your canvas, not your body. Right? You move your canvas, not your body, to the more comfortable place. That's a big piece of advice I could give you, is don't distort your posture to get your preferred angle on the canvas. These are very curly little strokes. There we go, just curling that hair. You've got this. You're doing good. It's a lot of layers. Well, thank you. Just going through here, making nice little hair. for this fun little sheep that's going to be hanging on our wall, making us smile every time we look at it. Grab a little bit of lighter hair here. Well, look at us, Bahram you. Right?
That's looking pretty awesome.
I think it is pretty playful and fun. I'm going to take a little bit of my glazing medium and my #1 detail brush. Get my white over here. So I'm thinning with the glazing medium instead of the water, because that'll keep my paint from drying out on me while still improving my flow. And I'll come out here and exaggerate some little wild hairs. And that's gonna feel very playful to us. So that'll work really well with the expression on the sheep. Just checking the chat.
Yeah.
You can see that the beginner acrylic painting course is getting recommended a lot, which is really smart. That's a free course I have. It takes a couple years off of your learning curve, and if you don't believe me, just read the comments on the course, because I answer my comments from old videos and new videos. So I try to make sure I get to all the questions. Like that. It's a little bit wilder out there, a little bit more playful. Alrighty, I love it. Wool. We painted some wool-y sheep.
Those are nice wools.
Those are lovely wools. Just a lovely little wool sheep.
That's a place to step.
That's a place to step, my friends. Yes, I'm gonna dry it.
Dry it first. While you're drying. While you're drying, I'm going to say, don't forget, if you have not had a chance to join us in a live, please, please, please join us. It's a lot of fun. We have a lot of, there's a lot of joking around, there's a lot of carrying on, but there's also a lot of sharing and meeting community, and that's a lot of what we're about. So, do take, if you have a chance, join us in the live, because we love seeing you here. Right? Love having you guys visit with us. How's it going over there?
It's going.
You ready for the 12th D-step?
I'm ready for the 12th D-step.
There you go.
I'm going to grab I'm trying to decide if I want a 1/2 inch angle or a 1/4 inch angle. I'll start out with a 1/2 inch angle and see if it's aggravating me, and if it is, I'll size down. So up here in the head, I'm going to be more in my yellow ochre, burnt sienna, and white. So I'll mix that base up first. I'll add some white to it where I can. To get a little black, actually, I think. I'll come under the tongue here. Start to define these little zones. Curving that up in. Trying to decide if I want to get my filbert grainer involved. I might want to involve my grainer. I do love it so much. So a grainer is a filbert that has little bits sort of snipped out, right? Little scissors have come in and snip, 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 snip that. You can take a filbert that you can buy a filbert grainer like this. This is the Princeton Select Velvet Touch filbert grainer in the 3/8 inch. You could also just buy like a filbert like this and then snip it with scissors if you couldn't get to one of these brushes. I'm gonna go ahead and get a little bit of my white involved. My glazing medium. Mix a slightly lighter color. And I'm gonna come to the outside of our little chin. And just start to paint in a little highlight. Get down into my little shadow color. Which is my burnt sienna Mars black again. So it's still part of the white fur, but we do a darker color. Because it's in shadow. Get a lighter value. This part over here is in highlight. Get my glazing medium involved. A little highlight right there on the outer edge of the face. Not so bright, but just a little bit brighter. If I need to, I can bring my little fur in closer on the neck. I'll rinse this and put this to the side because I've got to kind of paint up closer on the eyes. Taking my number 6 round because it's going to give me more control. Come around the eye. Behind a little bit. Do something similar over here. Sort of blend that in. Grab a little bit more white. Highlight our little nose here. Little mouth. Grab a little bit of my white and my yellow ochre. Glazing medium. And I'll just fluff out the top of the head. It's fluffy now.
Mm.
Now I'm going to just carefully, with brush directionality, add a little highlight to the center of the face. Just getting that a little bit highlighted. All right. So now there's shape happening. We're starting to take shape. Highlight up here. Highlight up here a little bit. I'm just using my grainer because it gives me nice kind of streaky lines that I want. Kind of part the hair up the middle of the nose. This will help with the directionality. Okay. Dry everything.
Dry, dry, dry.
Dry, dry, dry. And I'm going to take a sip of my drink.
Yeah?
Yeah, I'm going to take a sip of my drink
good
and
thing to
have a
do.
bit of a stretch and a little relax.
All right. It's something that you all should do as you're going through here. Is don't forget to have a little bit of a relax and a stretch, and we'll see which. I'll see if we can find. I'll ask. So Lindsay asked a question here in chat, which I'll ask Cinnamon about here in a minute. That's a pretty reasonable. She's going to take a little break to have a little cup of coffee, a little sip there. So we'll see. Lindsay had a good question for you there. Which D-brush is best for feathers? Oh, which filbert brush is best for feathers?
The filbert grainer.
The grainer. That's good to know.
Filbert grainer is the best for feathers.
You're gonna have
this one right here. Best feather brush, worth an investment. If you're painting a lot of feathers, you would consider getting it.
Right.
All right, now we're going to paint in the ears a little bit. So I'm going to grab some of my white into my yellow ochre again. Kind of come in above the top. Using my filbert. This is my number 4 Isabey Isacryl filbert. Down into my little shadow color here. As the ear comes down, it's a little more in shadow right here. Back into my yellow ochre for the top. Starting to think about how that's shaded in. The white and yellow ochre for the top. Bring that down. You've got that. Down into my burnt sienna Mars black, little yellow ochre, a little white. It's just, it's a light color, but it's our in shadow color. My ear's going off the edge of the canvas. I just got to make sure that it comes to a point and looks correct. Rinse out a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and get back into my inner ear color, which is my Cad Red and my Quin Magenta. Little yellow ochre. Nice amount of titanium white. And that little pink in. Just curve that brush stroke in there. A little hint of pink. We don't got to do the freckles. We don't have to do any of that. That isn't necessary. Mimi Statter says painting brings a smile and a giggle or two. I agree. I think painting brings a little bit of joy. I'm going to have a quick sip of my kombucha and rehydrate up and do some self-care in here. Make sure my back and everything is doing all right. You should do the same. Make sure you're feeling all right.
Yeah.
For very fuzzy things are always a little bit of extra work, you know?
Yep.
They just are.
That happens.
That happens. Totally normal. It's totally natural. It's totally normal and totally natural. All right, I'm going to grab a little bit of white over here with just a smidge of my yellow ochre. On top of my ear. Outer edge, I will make this smooth area. Top lip of the ear. Same over here. I'll go ahead and kind of turn this to the side so it's on my strong strength, and I'm also not dragging my hand through the paint. It's a good beginning. Now back into my greener. I want a lighter color, but I still want it to be more in shadow than the outer edge of that ear. I will brush that in. I'll bring a little light in here to just kind of bring a little of the wool to the inside of that ear. Just a little bit of wool on the inside. Come here and do the same. I can take this like right up to the edge of my eye too, so. Wipe my brush off and I'll get a little bit of my lighter color. Just add a little bit of that lighter right in there. Look how cute we are. We're getting quite cute. My back.
Taking a back stretch.
Yeah, I'm paying attention to my back.
Yeah, everybody's got to pay attention.
So we've got a little shading here and highlights through here, and we've just got to get these last few values. While I'm letting this all have a rest, I'll come in and work on my nose a bit.
Yeah.
I'm going to take a lot more white into my nose pink color, which again was the Cad Red, Quinacridone Magenta, and a little yellow ochre.
Call this a step?
Yeah, let's call this a new step. And I'm going to add a little light pink. Dry brush that in. Dry brush that in a little bit. Come into the center of the tongue. And then add a little more Quin.
All right. Cute little tongue.
Putting in some tongue. And a little highlight to this outer edge. Rinse off my brush. I'll go ahead and sort of blend that in. And then with my detail brush, I'm going to get a little bit of my Quinacridone Magenta. This is my #1 liner, my precision #1 liner. I'll go ahead and put a little pink right there. And if I want to shade it, I'll add a little of my ultramarine blue into my tongue color. So go a little bit purple. A little bit of shadow coming off there. Just a little bit. Just some. I'm going to want to come back here on the face. Take a little bit of my yellow ochre out. Definitely get some of my white involved. I like how I'm like getting colors involved, like it's a conflict and we're bringing in other colors to resolve a conflict. You go ahead and very carefully brush in a little bit of this kind of yellow ochre highlighted color. Go ahead and add a little bit of a shadow right here on the inside of this little nose lip. And then I'll get into this shaded area. Just try to get just a little bit lighter than I have it. And I brush that kind of in a curvature around. Face and eye, let's highlight that brow bone up there. Looking pretty good. Grab a little bit of my white into my yellow ochre over here. Kind of blend that in. A little bit of shading. Just to have that just be a little more closed. And a little more white. And come right up to this little nose. Brush that right up through the center. Kind of brush this off to the side and blend down the face. Just having a little bit of brush directionality with the hair.
Right.
All right, now I'm going to take my glasses on and we're going to do a new step.
New step. All right.
New step.
This is getting serious.
Yeah, I'm going to make a little dark brown black and some glazy medium, and then get my very most detailed brush. I'm going to add these little lids in. Grab a little bit of a light color. Just a little lightness around the eye. Just a little. Get back into my little crease color if I need to. Now I want to dry everything to get these last.
Okay. So I'm going to switch over here. Hold on. Sometimes she sneaks the drying up on me. You know, we don't want to push that button. That would be the wrong button to push. That one, I think. Let's try that one. And then, okay, got step buttons next. This button, that button. Man, there's so many buttons. Sometimes I get overwhelmed by the buttons back here. There's so many of them. Lots of them. That was a fast dry.
That was a fast dry.
Just enough time for me to panic and go, oh no, what buttons do I push? What am I doing?
Okay, let's get into our, yeah, I'm ready. Let's get into our dark color again, our black and our brown. And our glazing liquid. Our small little detail brush. Putting that little detailing around in the eye. I'm going to go ahead and put a little white on my brush. Come in and add a little bit of highlight to the tongue. Maybe a little bit to the nose. There up at the top. Gonna get a little of my blue, my ultramarine blue and white. Add a little bit of reflection right here and here. And I'm going to also put a little bit of reflection in the corners of the eyes. 2 little dots. I'm going to rinse off, and I'm going to find my finest, teeniest, tiniest little brush that I have that I think I've got any kind of control over, which is my number 0 precision. I'm going to go ahead and get a little more white involved and a lot more glazing liquid. I'm going to roll my brush completely clean. I'm going to get the least on here that I can. Add some little lashes. They can be long and curly going out, but you want them to be a little shorter going in. Turn this to the side because I want to be on the strength of where I've got good curl. Just the sweetest little lashes ever. Such a weird painting we did today. Sometimes you just get together and you do a funny little painting.
This one turned out really cool.
It's just a funny little painting. Sometimes life is just about a funny little painting. It's not a painting where you take it super serious.
Gotta sign it.
Yeah, I'm grabbing a little bit of my white over to my yellow green.
This did not take as long as I was expecting.
It
wrapped up fast.
It did, and it should be just a fun paint. Like this today and Thursday should be a fun paint. Saturday is a deep 3.5 hoot, wonderful landscape. But you know, I like to give you guys some like 2 hoot and shorter projects just in case you're not ready to get into the big monsters yet. Because you know, we teach beginners here. So, and that means being ready for all levels of beginners, not just advanced beginners, but beginners. And maybe a confident beginner or two. Keeping those layers and levels going. I think the bee and the lilac is going to be a really, really fun painting that we all really, really enjoy doing. So definitely want to see you for that. Would love to see you for the Saturday landscape. Be sure and hit those reminder buttons so that YouTube is likely to give you a notification. If you are in our newsletter, chances are I'll send out a newsletter before Saturday just to remind you of the 2 paintings that we did this week and then the upcoming big one on the weekend. I try not to hit you with too many newsletters, but I may hit you with more because I think sometimes I'm getting some feedback that you guys want to know when the classes are so you're not missing them. But you know, you can always check the calendar out on my website, theartsherpa.com. There's a calendar that kind of lets you know what's coming up. So you can also check that. And you can check the YouTube channel here. I want to thank everybody for coming in and doing this fun little goofy painting today. I wanted to do a sheep, and I wanted to add to sort of the barnyard collection of so many. I have a playlist all about roosters and pigs and sheep and cows. So if you have that kind of theme in your house, man, I've got you hooked up, and we've got some of the judgiest roosters you can imagine. They got so much judgment, and some of the funnest, cutest little pigs, and some of the most hysterical little cows. Like, we do some funny stuff. There's a cow in sunflowers eating sunflowers that's a little bit, got a bit of this vibe to it, that he's just munching some sunflowers that I highly recommend that you guys might want to add to into the collection. If you think cool, free art lessons like this are fun, be sure and make sure that you're subscribed. That way you get the notification. Go by the website and sign up for the newsletter. That way you get the newsletter. They're not full of ads. So unless it's like to my art store, and I'm not going to be that wild with that, you might see I got to make them. So you might see like an ad because I'm busy. But if you did see anything here you wanted to purchase, I do have it available for sale in my art store. Shameless self-promotion that I did there. And today's video was sponsored by you guys and our patrons, because without you, we wouldn't even be on YouTube or Matter at all. So thank you so much for your support and kindness. And on that edge, I want you to be good to yourself, be good to each other, and I'll see you at an easel really soon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. don't have that image loaded. Uh-oh. I had to do something. So you got to talk to him for a second.
Thank goodness I didn't have a hiccup or a belch in that
You
moment.
didn't have a hiccup or that. Okay, so
because I could wait to the end of the video for that, and then and then you would get me.
Then I'd get you. But see, now I got the button.
You got the button?
I got the button now.
You ready to use the button?
I'm ready. It was not loaded properly.
Well, you guys go about your adulting, and we'll use our button. Okay. Bye-bye.